Okay, so let's start. Lots of small little short tips about your wedding day. Planning, setting the date. Make sure you leave plenty of time for your planning. For the details and coordinating vendors. A wedding checklist may help you keep your tasks and your timing in order. So that's kind of setting the date. There's lots of other little tips around setting the date, but those few little small short tips will really help you. Outline your budget. Set your budget so that you know where you're going from the start. That's really important to know how much you have to spend before you even start going out and looking at, dresses and venues and all sorts of stuff. So outline your budget and be as strict as possible on your budget. Consider the time of day. Now, some people like to get married at 12 o'clock. I'm doing a wedding at the weekend at 12 o'clock. Some people like to get married at 1. Some people like to get married at 3. I would sort of say, decide on the time that you're getting married and take your personalities into consideration when it comes to your time. What type of day do you want to have? Like an awful lot of weddings are the same in terms of the ceremony, back to the drinks reception, and then you sit down for a meal. But I've done so many weddings where they do have a ceremony of some sort and then they go on and have a party or they'll go on and have a meal. So kind of consider the time of day. You might want to have a nighttime thing. You might want to get married during the day with your family and have a meal and then have a party later on. So when you're thinking about, what time you're getting married at, have a think about what you really want to do. Okay. I have a friend at the moment who is getting married and they've decided, what, we're actually not going to go and do the ceremony, the venue, the drinks reception, the whole thing. We're going to go to New York. So they're going to get, married here. First of all, a week beforehand, and then they're going to go off to New York and do it in New York and have a great time over there and have their immediate family. Brilliant idea. So just, consider your wedding around your personalities, the time and what you're going to do. Wedding party. It's never too early to ask who you want in your wedding party if you want that commitment. Now, I have said this before about asking people that you want to have in your bridal party. I'm always sort of saying, don't ask them too early, and certainly don't ask them, especially for the women, when you have a few drinks on you, will you be my bridesmaid? And then you kind of, regret that the next day. But if you know who you want to have in your wedding party from the off, it's never too early to ask them and get that commitment early on. Research your vendors. Absolutely research your vendors. Pick up some local wedding magazines and also ask around. I always say this. Word of mouth is a big thing. So if you see, and listen, everybody has their profile now and their portfolio on Instagram. If you see somebody and somebody's work that you love on Instagram, try and find people who have used that vendor because look, people put up their best work on Instagram because they want to impress you, but you need to also make sure that you're going to be able to work well with this person too. So ask around. Consider the ones you love. Make sure the people that are important to you know how you would like them to be included. So what I mean by that is, while they may not be in the immediate bridal party, they may not be in the immediate family, but they're very close to you, like a godmother or, a friend or a cousin or whoever's close to you. Try and include them in some way during the day. Give them a job. It could be a prayer. It could be, to round up people later on. It could be something like bringing the unity candles and the flower arrangements back to the hotel. Whatever it is, consider the ones you love and include them if you can. Consider your wedding size. Yes, this goes back to the budget, isn't it? Will it be a large, event or will it be a smaller one? And I would always say, think about what you have to spend, where you're getting married, how much it is per head, and go from there. Help needed. I'm always saying delegate, ask for help, because if you don't ask, you don't get. People will ask you, how can we help? Set up like a list of online tasks that you want done, that you need help with, and give people jobs. Tell them what you want them to do, or ask them to, have a look at the jobs that are there and assign some of those jobs to themselves. They're only delighted to be included and to be able to help. Your location, your venue, the atmosphere, all of that has to be taken into consideration when you're booking somewhere, Definitely, have a think about where you think you'd love to have your reception. Make a list. I always say, make a list of 5 different places if you can, and go and see them. Go and have a look at them. And when you go and have a look at them, be aware of how you feel when you're there, because it's all about the feeling that you have, because it's your wedding day and you want to make sure that you feel good, because if you feel good, everybody else will feel good. So make a little list of 5 venues and go around and then see which one, is for you. From here to there, I'm always talking about this. So consider the distance between your ceremony and your venue, and try and make sure that it's not a huge journey for everybody. Like I have often had to, I try not to take these weddings on because it's a bit of a waste of time. Like last year, I sat in the car for an hour and 40 minutes from the church to the venue. Now, I was nearly asleep by the time I got to the venue because it was such a boring road that we were on. An hour and 40 minutes, too long. Like, why? You're eating into your own day. Now, when I say why, sometimes I do get that you want to get married in your local church and that venue is the venue of your dreams. But seriously, an hour and 40 minutes, it's too long. Okay. Backup plan. I just wrote all of these down because these are all really, really important little tips. Outdoor venue, consider weather influences. Always have a plan B. Always have a plan B. Like my 2 weddings coming up this weekend, I had the Zoom calls with both couples, like I do with every single couple that I take on. And I would always say, here's my plan A and here's my plan B. My plan A is to do the photos here, here and here. And that's if the weather is nice. And plan B is to do them here, here and here. So always make sure that you have a plan B and that everybody who is involved in your photos or in the plan know what the plan A and the plan B are. Decor, not your thing. Some people just are not into all of that, extra decor that some people love to have. So if decor isn't your thing, find a venue that is beautiful. Tankerstown House. I know I go on about Tankerstown House like a lot, but somewhere like that where they don't need all that extra decor. It's just beautiful anyway. Seasonal decor. If you're getting married near a holiday, like a Christmas time, for example, make sure you ask the venue, will it be decorated in a very special way? Obviously at Christmas time it will be. But if it's another kind of, holiday, like I'm thinking of Ballymcgarvey around autumn and they have all these lovely autumnal flowers and decor in the room that you have your meal and it's beautiful. And if that's something that you want, have a chat with the venue just to see. Food and drinks, I always say this, if there's a drink that you love to have and that some of your friends love to have as well, talk to the venue and see if they will put on a table of, say it's gin, like a gin table. I've seen that done lots and lots of times, and it really, really works. And it also adds a little feature to the day, and people love it and take photographs of it. Consider the room flow. You want a space where you'll be able to mix and mingle with guests easily. So, if you have a venue where there's lots of different places and that people are going to be and they're not all in the one room, that might not suit you. But it may suit you. So have a think about like how it's all going to work. Do you want them all in the one space together? Does it bother you if they're all in different rooms? Ask for referrals. So see if your venue have suppliers that they love to work with, because if they love to work with suppliers, those suppliers will be good, because I can guarantee you venues do not like working with people who are slow or who are not good at doing their job properly, because they want their suppliers to work with them because they want to make sure that the day goes really, really well for everyone. Your guest list, talk about it. This is a conversation that you have to have very early on with your fiance. Establish your guest list and get a very concise kind of guest list from the start, just to make sure that you've included everybody and that you can afford all of those people on your guest list. Like think about, I always kind of get asked this question, what about cousins? Look, I mean, it's really down to your budget, and it's about also thinking about, other weddings that you have been at. And if you're very, very, very close to your cousins and you're invited to absolutely all their weddings, then you really do have to consider that. Your guests that travel to the wedding, consider how many of them are going to come to your wedding. Are there lots of them? If there are lots of guests who have travelled, like I did a wedding there a few weeks ago in Adair Manor, and the entire bridal party guests, like I'd say 95% of them had travelled from America. So obviously you want to put on a great day for them, but you do really have to consider the day before and the day after, especially the day after. And do something else for them. I know budget is a big thing, but it doesn't have to be, an expensive thing that you do, but organise something. Book out an area in a pub. If your budget is really, really tight, just book out an area. Just have them all together, Discuss your family needs. You'll want who you'll want involved in the ceremony, the reception. And just make sure that your expectations are really clear from the beginning, because people love to get involved in the wedding. They love to give their opinion. Oh, I wouldn't do that, but I would do this. Like, it's not about them, it's about you. So just be really clear from the very beginning, and then everybody knows what they're doing. Save the drama. I can't do drama. Handle any family issues. Way in advance. A lot of the time I would have, pardon me, I would have, parents who might be separated and they don't talk, and a brother doesn't talk to a sister-in-law. All that needs to be discussed beforehand, because you don't want that coming in on your day. You want to make sure that you've just said, look, no drama on the day now. Look, we're getting married in 6 months. I don't want any drama. I want to have, a great day, and whatever drama you lot have amongst you, keep it to yourselves. And I don't want to hear about it. Don't even want to talk about it. Just deal with it. It's not kind of unreasonable to ask a trusted friend or, a cousin, a brother, a sister, whoever, just to kind of keep an eye on different things during the day, things that kind of concern you. I would always say to, my couples, can I have 2 go-getters, one from either side of the family? It might be a might be a bridesmaid, it could be a brother, it could be a sister, but people that you trust and who will do the specific jobs for you that you've asked them to do. Keep everybody, in the loop. I always say this to all of my couples: make sure everybody knows what they are doing. So I'd always give my couples, a list of their homework. I always call it their homework. Now, this is your homework. I won't be seeing everybody until the day. So just make sure that they know where to be, and, and what time we're doing photos and all the rest of it. Don't check in when you get to the hotel with your luggage. Make sure it's all kept in the boot of the car. Just be available for photos. Those kind of things. Just keep people in the loop. Hotel. It's always nice for the couple to set up hotel options, within the vicinity of the venue that they're getting married in. So, there are particular venues who wouldn't be able to facilitate all of the guests. So you'll have B&Bs in the area, you'll have hotels in the area. Just make sure that, you have a list of maybe 5 or 6 of them, just so that you can put on the back of the invitation or within the invite itself. That's important, because don't leave it up to the guests to kind of try and find the nearest B&B, the nearest hotel. Do that for them. That's kind of, nice. This is lovely, like a welcome basket. Traveling guests, who are coming to the hotel, sometimes it's nice to kind of give them like a little, basket with a little goodie bag, like simple little treats to make them feel welcome, and, to get them into good. They're in great form because they're coming to the wedding, but you've no idea. Have you ever gone to a hotel and, there's like a cake, for example, it's my birthday at the weekend, and Martin booked a hotel for us, and we got to the hotel room and he had told them it was my birthday. I nearly killed him. And there was like a little slice of cake in the room when I got there, and I thought, oh my God, that's so lovely. And it just puts you into good form. So I'm not saying go out and spend a fortune on your guests who are going to be checking in, but isn't it nice to kind of just leave something? And I leave that to you, just think your budget, but think something that's not too expensive. Budget again, discuss the budget early. Planning a wedding can get really, really, really expensive. So just make sure you know how much money you have, and is anybody else contributing towards the wedding? Anybody giving money? Like we would always give money. I mean, we've had one son get married already. We would have looked after. I mean, I'm a wedding coordinator, practically a wedding planner now at this stage. So I would have helped them organise the wedding and probably given them a few bob as well. But just try and think about what you have to spend, and is anybody else gonna give us a few bob. Prioritising. Deciding what's most important to you and your fiance. Plan your budget accordingly so that you don't spend too much on low priority items, I call them. Don't be spending too much money on stuff that you don't really need. Get all the stuff that you really need, and then see if there's anything left in the budget for that kind of stuff that you don't really need. I always kind of say leave some funds just to make sure that just in case something does pop up that you have money for it. This is another thing, like planning for tips. Plan in advance for some vendors that you want to provide a tip for on the day. Now, look, I never expect a tip off anyone, nor do I ever get a tip off anyone. But I have seen, and I often get a gift, okay? Not all the time, but you'd often get a gift. And some people like to do that, but it's absolutely not necessary. And suppliers don't expect that. But I have seen brides on the morning of a wedding, giving the hair and the makeup people like a candle or something smelly or, something nice. So kind of plan that. If that's something that you want to do, that's totally up to yourself. Not everybody does it. And gifts that you might want to give your bridal party, your parents. Consider all of those little bits and bobs when you're planning your budget. Consider assistance. Know someone who's great with money. If you're not great at budgeting, I'm not great at budgeting. I'm so bad. Like, I think when I have money in my pocket, I have to spend it a lot of the time. But anyway, if you're not great at budgets and you're not great at spreadsheets, I'm absolutely sure you know somebody who is. So don't be afraid to ask. When speaking with your vendors, have a budget in your mind, like if it's a photographer, it's a videographer, if it's a cake supplier, just kind of think, well, this is kind of what I would expect to pay. And, some will be over the budget that you expected to pay. On the other hand, if they are, and it's somebody that you really, 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 really want, well, then you may have to go over budget for some vendors. But just try and stay within the budget that you have planned. DIY, is there anything that you can do yourself? Get creative. Like Dean, our son, got married last June, and I have to say he did these most creative, I'm going to explain to you, these little bells that you can buy, right? And I think they're amazing. So that when the couple walk into the room, everyone's standing, and instead of clapping them in, you're all ringing your bells. And it's really nice, and everybody did it. And it just creates this fabulous atmosphere. But Dean decided to go, I've got the bells for them, right? He decided to go the extra mile, and he bought these kind of little love hearts. And he decided to use each bell as a place name. And he got this engraver as well, and he engraved all their names on it. And for some of the smaller kids, like, we have a few grandchildren, what he did was he put kind of Minnie Mouse on one and Mickey Mouse on the other. And it's just lovely. And people still have those bells and they still talk about them. So that's just one little example. If you can make anything, absolutely do it. The ceremony. Selecting who you're going to have as your celebrant, your officiant, whoever it is. Is it a local priest? Is it the parish priest? I have to say, right, I think it's really important who you select, because I've spoken about this before and I'm not going to go on about it now, but you can get some priests who are not very nice. And do you want them actually performing your ceremony? There's one particular priest, oh my God almighty, I don't know why he does what he does. Oh, just puts me into bad mood. But anyway, I definitely wouldn't want him. So think about who you'd like. I know that you can bring a priest into the church that you're getting married in from another parish. I've seen that done so many times before. And if that's what you want to do, absolutely do it. Please don't get a priest who's narky, because it's your ceremony. That's what it's all about. Are there any kind of like marital counselling? Do you have to go off and do courses? Yes, you do. You absolutely do. So you need to look into that way in advance. Your marriage license, you have to go in. You have to register your marriage within, it has to be at least 3 months from the day you're getting married. So make sure you do that. You have to have that necessary documentation with you on the day. The green folder, if you haven't got that, you can't get married. Will your ceremony be formal or not? it depends on what you want. Is it going to be a church ceremony? Is it going to be a spiritual ceremony? Is it going to be a humanist ceremony? Have a think about all of that, because honestly, like, they will talk about the ceremony afterwards. And especially, I always find people talk about humanist ceremonies and spiritual ceremonies. And again, this is really important. The person who's going to do it for you, like, it's really important. I did a wedding recently. I can't remember her surname. Her first name is Romy, Romy. If you want to have a little Google of Romy, celebrant, she's amazing. She did, we were in Ballymcgarvey and she did a wedding down there, and oh my God, she makes it about the couple. She talks to them in advance. She finds out a little bit of information about the two of them, how they met, la 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 la. And she goes on and she does this beautiful, beautiful ceremony. In actual fact, she's so amazing that I've recommended her to our son James, who's getting married next December. And I think they've booked her because they absolutely should have. Kids or no kids, oh, if you prefer the guests not to bring children to the ceremony, you have to make it clear. You don't want to be annoying anybody, but if you don't want kids at your ceremony, you need to tell them, and you need to choose your words really wisely. I'm going to have somebody on here talking about children at weddings very, very soon. She is a children's nanny that you can hire to have at your wedding. If there's a possibility that you're going to have kids there, but you don't really want to have them there, but you're going to have them, you're going to keep them entertained. So I'm going to have her on in a few weeks' time. But you have to choose your words really, really carefully if you're not going to have kids at the wedding, and explain yourself well. Do you know, a guest book is lovely. I mean, I do see this quite a bit. Having a guest book at the wedding is just so nice, because do you know what's lovely about it? People will write about how they feel right there in that moment. And it's nice for the two of you to look back afterwards and read that. Now, the one thing about the guest book is a lot of them are kind of left on a table and you're assuming that people will go over and sign it. They don't necessarily all go over and sign it. So there you go. There's another job for a go-getter. It's a great thing to do. Like sometimes I do like an engagement portrait, I call it. Now I don't do engagement shoots. I probably should. I haven't got the time. But sometimes a couple will come into the studio and we'll do like, photographs, for about a half an hour, and they'll pick out a photograph that they absolutely love, and I do this beautiful, and I'll have it in black and white, and I'll put this lovely black, I don't do it, I get my framer to do it, frame experts. There's a lovely kind of black mount that he puts around it, and then I get silver pens and everybody signs this beautiful portrait. Now, nobody is going to sign it unless they know it's there, unless they see it. So what Amy and I do, Amy is my assistant photographer, my second shooter. She's amazing. If it's not signed enough, when everybody's announced into the room for the meal and, the staff are going around and taking the orders for the food, Amy and I will actually make sure that it goes around the tables and it's nice and full. And we always take it away with us when we're going, because we want to have the glass put into it afterwards. The same goes for the guest book. If you don't think the guest book is being signed at the drinks reception, get your go-getter, whoever that is, to send it around to the tables and make sure everybody at your wedding signs it. Sometimes people do like a printed program, and it sort of gives the guests, an idea of how the day is going to work. That can be nice. Some people do it, not everybody does it. Selecting your wedding vendors. I mean, like I said earlier on, do research, research people that you like, you've heard of, but then do some really sort of finite research, because you need to find out how they are with the couple on the day. You need to have a good relationship with people like your photographer, your videographer. If it's a cake supplier, make sure you have a look at the look of the cake. I mean, sometimes the cake can look fabulous, and you need to taste it as well. So make sure, just do research. Don't just book somebody because somebody else said they were brilliant. Do your research. Create a short list. Like I said, make a short list, especially when it comes to venues. Make a short list of about 5 and go and look at them. Hire a professional. I mean, honestly, just because somebody's cheaper than somebody else doesn't mean they're amazing. It can mean, that, not that it can mean they're amazing. Maybe their costs aren't as high as the other person, but honestly, don't just book somebody because they're cheaper, because geez, you just don't want to regret it. Don't rush. Do not rush into booking somebody because you think they're going to be booked by somebody else for the same date. Like I said, it is It's all about researching, and all of this is about booking vendors. Ask for proof if you're going for a specific wedding theme, whether it's kind of like rustic, beachy, Christmassy. Just find vendors, and if it's especially somebody who deals with decor, you want to see their work. You want to see photographs of stuff that they have done before. Like, use your head. Listen to the recommendations that you've been given, from other people about that vendor, and then don't be afraid to ask the vendor questions. Write down a list of questions that you want to ask them before you even ring them. Try and do a Zoom call so that you can talk to them face to face as well. And that's my next thing: face-to-face meetings. A lot of people do since COVID. A lot of people do. I do all my meetings now on Zoom before the wedding. It's so handy, so you're not kind of having to get people into the studio, and you're not having to go physically and meet that person because you're wasting a lot of time traveling. So face-to-face meeting, and under pressure. That's my last tip for today. If a vendor is putting you under pressure to book them and you feel panicked in any way and you don't get a good feeling, then don't book them. I would never ever put anybody under any pressure to meet me, book me. I would just hate anybody to feel under pressure. So if you feel any way, I don't mean bullied, but if you feel pressured in any way, they're not the one for you, and definitely go with your gut feeling. I always say go with your gut feeling. If it doesn't feel good, it is not good. Now, I hope all of those tips have helped you today. I'm sure they did. But if you've any questions for me, please do send me a little message on my Instagram page, Jenny McCarthy 8.